Hi everyone, and yes, today it's a great day for me because I have the pleasure to talk finally after months of incredible analysis on X with Enea. So Enea, thank you a lot for this
Thank you.
joint meeting.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks a lot, and yes, for the audience, we had a brief discussion before some technical issues, but yeah, Enea is also a specialist on podcasting, much better than me, so we fixed everything. So yeah, I want just to give a brief introduction. So yeah, as I said, I saw Enea's work from X, and he's a founder of the BTC Treasury community on X, one of the most growing communities on over the last year, I would say, and in which I'm very active as well. So great job on that side. And he's also very active with his own YouTube channel and a tool called gammalift.com that maybe Enea you will talk to us about your analysis.
Sure.
And a very active investor. So on the Bitcoin space. So Enea,
Yeah.
thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you for the great introduction, and I'm very happy to finally meet you, finally talk, and I'm very happy to talk this morning about Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's always a good time to talk about Bitcoin. So yeah, maybe let's just kick off with the agenda.
Yeah.
And I would say will be mainly a Bitcoin centered discussion, also touching macro and touching money mainly. So it's more on the ethical side, the structural side, and the structural opportunity that Bitcoin is giving us, and then we will see about the discussion, and maybe we will also touch some other topics. But yeah, I want to give you the floor, Enea, for the agenda, and then let's discuss.
Yeah, let's kick it off. Thank you. And so I love the topic. I think there is no better way to talk about Bitcoin than defining it as the biggest arbitrage of the century. I truly believe it is the biggest arbitrage of this century. It's or even more than the century, because we never had such a tool with such features that remove the need of trust. To remove, it's not yet understood, and this is the arbitrage. But the features are incredible. Decentralized, removing the need of trust. It's scarce. And on top, the opportunity that is given to us is not only just to use the tool to store the value of our work and energies, but actually we are given the opportunity to adopt it before most people are able to adopt it, because they don't understand it, because they are distracted on with daily matters, with lives. We all have busy lives. Some of us, I feel, they happen to research and maybe have put in the effort and somehow discover Bitcoin. And I think this is a big luck, also merit, because a lot of us just decided to spend those time, that hour, using the curiosity, driven by curiosity, and put in the effort, and then we landed in the Bitcoin, on the Bitcoin planet. And here we are given the biggest arbitrage of the century. And yeah, I really like to frame it this way.
Yeah, I think it's very well put, very well said. And as we discussed before offline, I think for the new cohort of people, maybe I would say for the last, I don't know, 5 to 6 years of new Bitcoiner, I think COVID time during 2020 was really this moment in which every one of us was forced to stop what they're doing, to just take a break from the ordinary life that each one of us had, to slow down in some cases. And for a minority of those people, maybe the most I don't want to say smart, but the most curious about alternatives, and the most maybe sometimes skeptical about things, had finally time to pause and to see reality maybe from a different perspective and from a different way. So for me, at least, was my pivotal moment was during COVID. I was already investing in Bitcoin. I was already researching it and studying it, but I only saw the surface back then. Maybe I was just, trying to understand the investing side, the speculation side. I wanted to make, the easy money or try to, outpace other kind of investments. But as we all know, the rabbit hole is much deeper. As we all know, the layers of this, as you called this arbitrage of the century is incredibly deep, and at least for me was life changing during COVID time. So 2020 is a defining moment for me. And I don't know if maybe it's a coincidence, and I don't know. I would like also to think about your opinion on that, but also sailors was a kind of pivotal moment, because we know by fact that in 2020 he had a multiple conversation with Eric Weiss, that is a long-term OG and Bitcoiner, who actually orange pill sailor too, about these alternatives and the fact that it's a superior form of technology and is a superior form of money. So I want also to know maybe more about your discovery into Bitcoin, and if it's somehow relates with also my story and many other stories about COVID time and the slowdown to discover something new.
Definitely. I feel so. I had a very similar story. Also, I was exposed to Bitcoin, but not really knowing what I owned in 2016, 17. I didn't, to be frank, I didn't know what I was owning. I was not so focused on that. There was a lot of noise in the crypto industry, a lot of scam coins, a lot of lack of transparency. So I eventually went through the big euphoria of 2017. Very happy to see the little investment I placed in random cryptos and Bitcoin, unknowingly what I didn't know what I was owning, but yeah, I also bought some, and I saw them growing and then crashing badly, and then I decided to actually sell everything. So my Bitcoin times were over because I was feeling really there was no transparency in the industry, a lot of noise. Only later on to a bit randomly find the Bitcoin Standard book on a bookshelf of a friend of mine, and I love reading, and I feel maybe, I mean, you mentioned like a bit like that curiosity is drove most Bitcoiners to find Bitcoin. And I feel when I look at my unfair advantage for in comparison to people who actually maybe didn't discover Bitcoin, I think curiosity plays a big part of it. I love reading, I love history, I love seeing how history repeats over and over, how everything connects and just maybe is expressed in different words or in different moments. And reading the Bitcoin Standard was driven indeed by this curiosity. I was like, okay, just let's give it a try. Bitcoin. I bought it before, but everybody, I mean, I had somebody around me who talked a bit about Bitcoin, and we were arguing a lot. I was not believer. I was bringing up all the let's say the FUD or the thesis account against Bitcoin, like, but there is no intrinsic value, but why Bitcoin and not these other crypto and so on. And so I also as intellectual curiosity, I decided, okay, let's finally try to see what Bitcoiners are seeing and what they are saying, and if it's so I can even show it and bring it to their face that that's bullshit. That was like kind of a mixed interest, curiosity, and also interest of I can actually argue.
Yeah, I want to take some revenge. I want to show them that that they are wrong because they didn't take time to studying it.
Yeah, and I did the Bitcoin I read the Bitcoin Standard, and I remember the feeling. The first thing was, wow, this is not. When does it talk about Bitcoin?
Yeah, true.
And actually, it's a book about history of money. And that captured me so much, and so many things clicked. It's so easy, but yeah, it's so simple, but yet not so easy to know and to connect the dots around money, because simply we have this. I mean, humans always have this recency bias, right? Like we are born into a society and we see our time frame. It feels long, it feels real, just because it was the time we lived in. But and we don't acknowledge that a different way of living, different tools, different overtone window, so what society considers okay and not taboo, was present before, and there is always an evolution of society. And I love to see that in the Bitcoin standard, and to see the evolution of money and how it shaped and crushed civilizations. So yeah, that was my haha moment, my where things connected, and then everything went down the rabbit hole from
Yeah.
there.
So
Yeah.
first of all, thank you to Safe Dean for putting out in 2018, if I'm correct, the Bitcoin standard. So it's already 7 years. And as you said, the crucial part for most Bitcoiner, and also I think our duty when we want to spread the knowledge and information from Bitcoin should not be. I mean, I think that the best approach is what Safe did. So for like 10 chapters, he never even mentioned once Bitcoin, because in order to understand
Yeah.
Bitcoin, you need first to understand that there is a problem. And most people in Western civilization, I would say in Europe, in the US, in Japan, 1 billion people. And as you said, in our generation, really are not really struggling, are not really in the need to understand how money works. Because to be honest, our
Yeah.
system is on a day-to-day basis is much better than all the rest of maybe globally. And to be honest, if I go to pay with my credit card or with my debit card, or I need to send a wire to you, it's working. It's pretty fast. It's pretty effective, and overall it's fine. But again, that's only the surface. That's not how really money works. It's not how really
Yeah.
the system is
Yeah.
designed to work. And even more so, as you said about the time bias, we are born into a post 1971 world that I'm sure we will discuss about those dates pretty much during the episode. And since then, we have this new experiment with fiat money, with this uncorrelation and depeg from gold, that again in the 70s it might not even be a big thing or a big deal for like most people. Only for a few economists, few smart intellectual folks back in the 70s, from the Austrian school of economics, from people that are really understanding how the system was designed. For 99%
Yeah.
of the people, this went completely unnoticed. And
Absolutely.
I think today, after like 55 years, we are really understanding why this system and this experiment is broken, is destined to failure.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
Bitcoin is the best representation of this broken money and the broken system that we are living.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And yeah, it brings us back to our own recency bias, because people, as you said, are born in the fiat
Yeah.
era after 1971, and they think that's how it works. Yeah, that's normal. They think, oh, that's normal. Yeah, it has worked like that for the past 20 years, and it was fine. For the past 30 years, and it was fine. But yeah, they would like. I have a note on in my head, like on that. I think most people miss a big fact that no asset, banknotes, deposits, whatever, stocks, no asset is safe against government actions. And these could be intentional government actions like monetary policy, monetary printing, unintentional because of external stress factors that they were not under their control. But the history is full of examples of the government indirectly, intentionally or unintentionally, forcing you to basically give your money, or locking you out of your money. And there are also more recent examples, like in Argentina and so on. Inflations is one very silent examples that I would say most people don't really know or understand what inflation is, right? And most people who understand inflation, they don't understand how fake the inflation metric also, and the biases of the inflation metrics. But people do understand cost of living and struggle increasing. And they understand this, and this leads to political instability. And eventually, even if they don't understand it, we could argue that even the average person that doesn't know anything about Bitcoin, know anything about money, is living through the struggles of the fiat society, basically.
Yeah, because they experience it via the parents, the grandparents, so they have an empirical knowledge based on facts,
Yeah.
based on real stories, based on real struggle, that is much more telling than, you know, some economist or some other people that wants to tell you otherwise. So for them, it's an imperative to understand money, because for them is the biggest struggle that their entire generations faced. So that's my view on why Bitcoin is more successful nowadays in third world countries, in African country, in South America, in maybe in Indonesia or in other, you know, jurisdiction in which we have constantly this kind of problem with stability, with money that is gonna devalued like crazy, corrupted politician, and it's something that is going on for decades, if not century. And for them, Bitcoin click much better than for us, or for most of us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say there is, even in our like European or Westerner society, US, Europe, there is still kind of societal wisdom, community wisdom, I feel, around money, in the sense of, I mean, I know that where we are from, everybody would tell you, as soon as you start earning, make sure to get a house. And I feel, I mean, for us Bitcoiners, this sounds quite absurd, but it's what is the answer that society tried to find to money instability. And somehow for people who don't know much about it, and grew up in the maybe different times and had different alternatives and so on, this still represents a decent or a trial, let's say, to escape the monetary debasement. And I was a few weeks ago, I was with a family member, a boomer, with like a doctor earning good money. And he was very happy to share that I bought a couple of flats, small flats, and he was saying, I tried to rent them. It's too busy, too much of a mess. Cannot do that. So I gave them to an agency. After everything, I receive around 3% back per year on my money, and I'm very happy about it. I mean, where can you achieve that? And of course, that kickstarted a conversation. And then after this conversation, he said, but yeah, I didn't even try to mention Bitcoin.
Because you knew already it was a lost argument. And
yeah. But I mentioned even stocks, right? Like you feel like, okay, even stocks, I mean, with 3%, you are actually losing money in real terms, above all in these years, right? But over time, we saw that money supply growth, global money supply growth is like 7% annualized in the last 30 years. So you're effectively with 3% losing money every year. And but I really liked, so I always listen to different perspectives, and I really liked his point of view. And he told me, like, I don't know anything about the stock market. I wouldn't know from where to start. And I think this is precious information, and is also very encouraging information, because how I see it is, like, boomers are still, a lot of boomers, the average boomer, let's say, still very much focused on real estate. But we have dynamics in society such as decreasing demographic, like aging population. So we have less new people in the world. We have, I would say, youngsters who can pay less, and so I see, and inflations of, for example, materials and services and cost of goods. So having real estate is actually gonna probably cost more and be, over time, have maybe at some points really less demand. If we factor in, if we would remove immigration, for example, I think, I mean, look at Italy, look at European countries, look at Japan. Like Japan, they're giving away houses. Italy is giving away houses in the south, in small towns of the south, and so on. And this is a trend that started from small towns. Of course, people go to urbanized centers, but if you would remove immigration from other countries on, I mean, the Italian population is gonna decrease over time, and the demand for housing is gonna slow down. So somebody could argue it's a good investment, but what I like a lot about the comment of this person is that so he was saying, I don't know, it's too much work for me to learn. But the young people are instead learning, and the speed of information has never been faster for those people who want to get informed. Hence, I think in this context, real estate is gonna, in my opinion, lose a lot of people who want to invest and buy real estate, that they instead understand inflation a bit better, and then understand the stock market a bit better, and eventually understand Bitcoin. And because all the roads, roads lead to Bitcoin eventually. Whether you start to research, all the roads lead to Bitcoin. This is incredibly encouraging because this person, a boomer, had pain. He just said, I don't have time, I'm too old to research and so on. But his son and daughters, they have the time, or they will at some point have to solve the problem. And so as Saylor said, Bitcoin is discovered by those people in need, and there is so many people in need, and they will discover. You try to share the screen. Wait a second.
Here. Maybe it's like nice also to share this while we were discussing about this topic, because I totally agree with you. I don't know if you can see the screen, Enea?
I can see the screen.
So what you said is great, because again, we have all the street leads to Rome. It was in the Roman sentence, very famous one. And similarly, all the roads lead to Bitcoin, because again, when we see demographic, as you mentioned, especially for Italy, because it's the country that we know better, and also from Japan, which is in a similar situation in terms of demographic, in terms of overall struggle also on the debt, because as we see here in the US debt clock, but is a global metrics. We see Italy that is now 161 debt over GDP ratio. You have Japan, which recently crossed the 293%. And again, for some economies, they would say, this is not really a big issue, because Japan has most of their own debt is held by Japanese. That the central bank was able to do the yield curve control, so in somehow they are far-fetching the interest rate, but in the greater good of the nation, Japan is solid, etc. But if we see those numbers are pretty clear, that how long can it last? Or it might also last for like more decades, sure, but at which cost? At which expense? Someone is gonna pay. There is no free lunch. It's very famous, these quotes as well. So if you have this massive burden from the debt, you have a shrinking population, and the population is mainly driven by old people, elderly people that are outside innovation, outside the workforce, and they probably needs to have more healthcare and more expenses because of their age. How can you factor in all these metrics? The only outcome is that each individual has less chances of a great future, because the debt and the interest over the debt that is growing as the first item of expense for each nations is going out of control. So the only solution that the politician and the central authorities have come out with consistency is to expand the monetary base of their own nation, and creating paper money, creating new supply of money. But as we all know, if you don't incentivize productivity, if you don't incentivize innovation, if you don't create a positive environment for talents to grow and for capital to be allocated, this will transmute into inflation. This will transmute into high inflation, and more expensive for the cost of living, more expensive for insurance, more expensive for everything else. So it's a vicious cycle, and most of Western economies are now facing this cycle. So what's your take on this crazy number? And I think the visualization is very scary.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like to, when I see these, and when we talk about Bitcoin, I get asked the question, why do you think it's going to work? Like, are you not afraid to invest in Bitcoin and, for example, Bitcoin treasury companies or related Bitcoin business? Like, are you not afraid? And the thing is, my my short, I would say short answer, and we can take it from there, is just follow the incentives. Follow the incentives of the system, and then you will see what will happen. Like you can already project what will happen, and all the rest is noise. And basically, I see the incentives as a sort of, I like to have this picture as a sort of let's say a container with a lot of water inside, and the incentive is a hole that gets you make a hole at the bottom, and then to me it's an incentive. Just follow the water over across the incentives, and you will see where the water will land.
Yeah, you will find the problem.
Yeah, and you will see also how things will move. And I remember reading this in The Road to Serfdom by Hayek, so Austrian economic. And I don't remember the exact words, but basically it was saying something like, look, I understand that interest rate regulations and control, which is nothing more than the price, defining the price of money. So intentionally controlling the price of money to try to achieve a political agenda. You were saying, yeah, it could actually work as a tool, is a valid tool. But what doesn't work is the incentives that are like the human part of it. So you could actually are responsible, like you were saying, we kind of know the effects. Like if you give more money, you can actually reboost an economy and provide the incentives to make the things work again and restart. But then he was saying, basically a responsible governor would then try to create a surplus in moments in which the economy grows strong, and use the surplus to support the economy when it goes through crisis. Basically, the problem that every good, like every individual investor or individual per se has to face. Like nobody comes and just creates more money in your bank account, isn't it?
Yeah.
So each of us needs to kind of face the same problem as an investor as well. Like you need to make sure you allocate properly, or in productive activities that bring value to society, good enough at least to get repaid for your allocation effort and risk. And so about following the incentives, then Hayek was saying the problem, so a tool to achieve that when there is really an exception could actually work. The problem is the definition of exception, and who defines what is extreme enough to be an exception. And we have seen how simply monetary expansion works and liquidity cycles, they're all like very aligned with political period of government, basically. So I mean, every government will have to plot to tell a story about what's wrong and a solution, and all the solutions, one way or the other, they come to just printing more money to taper the problems. And so the incentives that and I also sometimes try to think a bit deeper, like even now, like if you're a politician and you really understand what we're talking about and you really know it's wrong, and you are then at the government, you're given 4 years, and you feel like, okay, maybe you even maybe trick yourself into believing it's better. I don't know, I trick the population, the people, to get reelected so I have more time. And this could be even a reasonable way of thinking. But the point is, the biggest problem of a politician, once again, if we follow the incentives, is not solving the issues of the country, is keeping their job. And even if they're good intention, they don't have enough time to really change everything. So it's keeping their job long enough to then probably try and have a chance at solving the problems. So the incentives are telling us no politician is actually gonna solve, like it's gonna be focused a lot on keeping the power or getting reelected. And there is no other way than promising things and even giving things. But the point, we always go back to the point of who is paying for the things, right? Who's paying for the money? And
that's a great point. And I totally agree. And I think fiat money and the fiat system that was built upon already started to take some sort of shape in 1933, but it went completely clear in 1971, was completely to remove the so-called proof of work from Bitcoin. So before you had the proof that this money is backed by gold, which is a resource, a natural resource, something that is very scarce, very hard, and very difficult to obtain. That's why it has been valued by, for millennia as a growing store of value. And they completely removed this connection. That's why we removed the proof of work. We removed the verifiability of money. And once you distort the incentives, as you said, of course, a politician, if he can press the red button, he will press the red button. If he can give you incentives, if he can give you free money, if he can subsidize some industries, of course they will do it, because it's human. Is the human behavior, human endeavor, as you said, to getting re-elected. Their goal is getting re-elected, not to fix this kind of problem, which I would argue will never come from a collective effort. It will come from individual effort.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Bitcoin clicked for me because of that side. I'm really against the collectivism. I'm really against socialism. I'm really against this kind of extremism, to be honest. Also on the other side, of course, but also on the kind of leftist in which the individual is useless, in which we need to give up everything for the collective goods, and the experts knows everything side of things. And Bitcoin gives a lot of hope because it gives back to the individual the key part of your own future. If you believe in that you can change for your own self, then for your maybe for your family, then for your circle of friends, then for your community, then for a bigger scheme, I think Bitcoin is really the thing that gives hope, to give and restore the dignity of individual beings. And of course, it takes time, it takes responsibility, it takes a lot of sacrifice, it takes a lot of effort to go outside of the herd, go outside and become sometimes the black sheep, and try to focus your time and energy on what really matters. So what we said before with Safedin, and what we said with you mentioned the Austrian economist, is to go against the new wave of economics, the new wave of monetary debasement to endless money creation that is not creating new productivity, is not creating new wealth. I would argue is destroying wealth for the middle class, is creating only wealth for the very ultra wealthy, because they know how to play the game. They know to buy scarce asset, they know to buy stocks, they know to buy Bitcoin, they know to buy gold, and they are very short fiat. They are short dollar, and they are short euro or whatever. So
absolutely. And the beautiful thing is that, I mean, thanks to the speed of information that there is now, I think that's why I feel the bet on Bitcoin is a bet on incentives that are all pointing in one direction. We have this bleeding fiat society with fiat money, fiat food, fiat structures that is bleeding from everywhere, and we have AI with a PhD in your pocket, where nowadays you just need to ask the right questions and just to be curious. All the roads and information that has never been moving faster than now will lead you there. And more people are talking about it. We see governments, right? People in the governments, like the US government, this is unprecedented. They're talking about it. It's just a matter of time. And I feel this is the last. I mean, it will keep growing and outperforming the Standard & Poor, as Saylor, for example, showed in his
charts.
He showed in this presentation he did in Prague. And but the window, it will of course have diminishing returns over long enough time. So I feel we are still in that phase where adoption is picking up, but it hasn't been broadly adopted, which represents a great opportunity. And if with everything, and you want to land an opportunity, you don't do what 99% of the people do when 99% of people do it. You do what 1% of the people do it when 99% of the people are distracted. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and if I can just add
And
one thing, and before I
yeah,
forget
sure.
about it, about the speed of
Yeah.
information, because we should realize how lucky we are to live in, in this decade, or
Yeah.
in which, with computer, with basically free, you can have access to all human knowledge at your fingertips. You can download
Yeah.
all the books. You can translate all the books, all the text instantaneously at no cost. You can see all podcasts, you can watch Professor, you can watch whatever. It's totally free. If you go back, like, I don't know, even simply 50 years ago or 100 years ago, you would have to spend a lot of money, a lot of time doing research. You couldn't speak like me and you via screen on the one to another one in the other side of the planet. And today, this is free. It's the cost of electricity, it's the cost of an internet connection. So we can assume it's basically free.
Yeah.
But
It's going to zero.
and yes, and as
Yeah.
Jeff Booth said, yes, all these the AI and technology and robotic will push everything and the marginal cost of production towards zero. Basically, we should live in more abundance, not less abundance, because we have everything at
Yeah.
almost zero cost.
Yeah.
The fact that is not the
Absolutely.
case is because the denominator is wrong. It's because fiat is corrupting everything, and is the poison of economy, of finance, and then now,
Yeah.
as we discussed, also in other realm of reality. But again, if you fix the denominator, and I think it should start from a small percentage of people understanding this, and it's totally in line with the ethos of Satoshi, because he sent this email alongside others, of course, but the main email in 30th of October of 2008, and then the protocol went live 3 of January 2009, and only few people got the email. Few people cherished this flame of innovation into the cyberspace, as Saylor quoted frequently. And we were
Yeah.
able to, from few people, from few visionary people, to keep pushing it forward, to spreading it. And in only 16 years, what Bitcoin and what Satoshi's idea reached is, to me, is unbelievable, because it's hundreds of millions of people already. We can argue that some of them are very hardcore and most of the other are very superficial. They really don't know what they own, but still, it's from zero, or from 1 to 100 millions, and eventually in the future to
Yeah.
billions. It's impressive, especially considering there is no CEO, no marketing agency, no support from the mainstream media, no support from states, and yet he was able to become one of the fastest growing thing from network perspective and from price perspective and market cap, and it has a long way to go. So it's unbelievable
Yeah.
times.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I wouldn't underestimate the power of fiat
Mm-hmm.
debasement, right? In all of what you're saying, like fiat debasement, and having an opportunity, an option out of that, which is Bitcoin. And we talked about money supply. You talked about money supply and how it's changing everything. But I remember, so recently I had to prepare a workshop for a 1 billion euros European
Wow.
fund who thought, okay, we are interested in Bitcoin. Tell us more. So I put together a lot of figures and rebuilding a bit the whole story, a bit what we are talking about here, but with
Mm-hmm.
numbers, and so to basically talk also about Bitcoin institutional adoption. And I remember these figures. I looked at the US dollar, I looked at the euro, and it's incredible. Like, I mean, people feel the prices are going up, but when you look at the numbers, they're going up much
Yeah,
faster
it's
than.
catastrophic. Yeah, it's catastrophic.
Yeah, like the US dollar has lost 48% of its purchasing power since 2000,
Okay.
and 21% since 2020,
Insane.
or in the
Oh
last
my
5 years.
God. Yeah.
And the euro has lost 45% of its purchasing power since the 1996. And there was no euro in 1996, but there is a Eurostat harmonized index of consumer
Mm-hmm.
prices that uses all the currencies to rebuild that. and it has lost indeed 45% since 1996 and 19% in the last 5 years. So when you basically, as you said before, like people who are not owning assets are made even poorer than they were. And it's easy in political agendas and political slogans to blame that on the rich,
Yeah.
as somewhere it's happening. But that's just a result, clearly, of expansionary monetary policies, because those people earned cash. They didn't know what to do about it. The little cash they didn't spend on increasing prices remained in the bank. And now it's worth 48% less than 25 years ago. They printed out their life savings. And this is incredible. And people sooner or later start to seek a solution, to seek what to do about it. People get to the stock market. They see, they invest in the stock market, and eventually people will get to Bitcoin. And it's funny because everything is moving. It's a moving piece, and we feel like we were born in the US dollar centric world, basically, and also now euro is the second currency, so the two strongest currencies. But this is just a very recent evolution of humanity.
Yeah, very recent. Yes.
Yeah. So eventually, I think we are going in that direction, and the price of Bitcoin is just showing that. It's just showing that more and more people, more and more money is seeking a place out of the existing systems.
Yeah, I just take this final quote that you have, Enea, just to give you a question, and then maybe we can discuss it a bit further. Because I totally see that for me, 2020, the world changed. Historians in the future will see this date as a defining moment into a new geopolitical, influence, new money, a lot of things for me change in 2020. And I'm pretty sure historians will realize that. And I really think that what you said about adoption, what you said about capital that needs to flee even from Western economies, because also on our economies that technically are the largest on a GDP metrics, on pure financial metrics, but probably are still the largest. They will need to flee to find safety into something else. And probably with the new generation coming in of new brain, new people, you would like to have something digitally, something completely born digital, rather than gold, or rather than stock, or rather than bonds. Oh my God, bonds. So again, I really think that 2020 shaped these new things that now we are seeing in place in 2025. And my observation is that when we consider all these metrics and factoring in all the things, I really don't see how Bitcoin can keep this Fourier cycle in place, even more so if we keep grinding up, consolidate, if we move in this kind of gold fashion in which we have repricing, then a distribution, then an accumulation phase, everything with less volatility, but also less downside. And I think we are entering this new phase for the next probably 5 to 10 years in which Bitcoin will show months after months, and this global adoption is only getting started, because we see from individual, we have less than probably 200 million people. But again, those 200 million people, maybe they allocated simply, I don't know, 2%, 5%, 10% of their savings, of their capital in Bitcoin. So there is a lot more that those existing 200 people can invest more in Bitcoin when they fully get it. And still we have 7.8 more billion people that will eventually enter. Then we have all the companies that it's only getting started in 2020 with strategy. Maybe we can argue now in 2024, 2025 with ETF, we have more institutional adoption, but still it's very early. So how do you see this trend, and how do you see those massive, to me, factors also changing and reshaping the price action in the future of Bitcoin and the global concept that Bitcoin has in people's mind?
Yeah. Well, clearly Bitcoin price has been behaving differently than in the past cycles. So this is a fact. And I like to see it this way. Like Bitcoin is an organic animal, if you want. Like it's a very good representation of humanity, in the sense of that everything is in Bitcoin. You get the OGs who purchased thousands of Bitcoin and made incredible amount of profit. Now they are releasing, trimming their portfolios, impacting the market. You have the speculators, whatever they are trading on, if they are seeing Bitcoin as a risk-on asset or whatever, they buy it, they trade it, they sell, they impact the market. You have market makers who they make money out of transactions and liquidations. So if they have incentives, probably they're gonna use them as well. And you have long-term holders. So there is a lot of going on, and reading the price of Bitcoin has been very hard. But it's very noisy when it comes to daily behavior, weekly behavior, even monthly behavior. But the long-term trajectory, it's one and only, and it's up and right. And the trajectory to me, so while the volatility and the noise on a daily, weekly, monthly basis talks about is the reflection of all these different actors with different incentives and different playbooks, trying and different intentions as well, and level of understandings. Then the long-term directions is the curve of the adoption of capital. And I like to think a bit more, rather than adoption by people, in terms of like framing it like the internet, right? The internet was adopted by people. You needed a computer as an individual to connect. But we're talking about, I prefer to talk about capital because eventually Bitcoin is energy. And so, or even we could bring it to energy, the adoption of energy, right? Because capital is nothing more than energy used to do work that earns something, fiat in this case, then becomes capital and then seeks a place to be transferred in the future.
Great point. Yeah, I agree.
And its capital is clearly adopting at a super fast pace Bitcoin, and Wall Street has just discovered it. Wall Street and private companies, public companies, pension funds, governments, these are big institutions. These are highly regulated institutions that are drowning in bureaucracy and regulations and approval and internal discussions with committees, and they are slow. Yeah. Despite that, some are leading the way. The numbers of actors interested and capital interested, the volumes are increasing. So, I mean, the price of Bitcoin is telling all this story at once. And despite it's volatile and so on, it's going in that direction. And the previous volatility that we saw in the past cycles, these cycles volatility, eventually somebody might argue, oh, it's not going to happen now. But the future, and I don't know if it's in 1 year, 4 years, 10 years, the future is that it will be smoothed out. We will not have any more these swings, these strong swings. We will just keep the direction, because once the arbitrage, the biggest arbitrage of the century, is understood by more and more people, then there will be more and more people that, like Sailor, will buy the top forever, right?
Yeah, very possible. Yes. And yeah, and I mean, me personally, I never met someone that deeply understood Bitcoin and said, yeah, now I sold it, or I'm out of this game, I don't care it anymore. There is zero chance.
Yeah.
Eventually, it's what you said is true. I mean, maybe if you have if you're an OG and you enter in the space in 2012 up to 17 or 16, and you've been more than 10 years, and now you want just to trim, just to maybe, you think that 100K was a strategic level, a mental, very, very important key resistance level, etc. Maybe you might want to rotate some, maybe you want to sell something to upgrade your lifestyle, to do whatever. It's totally fair. Absolutely. But those people will remain Bitcoiner at their core. Those people deeply understand, maybe more than me and you even, what's really the problem is, because they've been 10 years, 12 years inside the space. So I never met a single person that deeply understood Bitcoin and then say, yeah, now I'm out, I don't care, I just go back and buy equities, I just go back and buy bonds, or pretending that flipping real estate is a good investment. So The people that are already here, they will cement their own knowledge, they will spread furthermore their own knowledge to new people. And if we see the ratio is 1 to 1,000, because there are still, in our bubble, it seems that Bitcoin is the main problem, and is the main solution to the problem. But the reality, if we go outside of X, or if we go outside of our own brain, nobody talks about Bitcoin. Nobody cares. So we need to conceptualize this, and we need to realize that we are still, even after 16 years, even after sale or buying 636,000 Bitcoin, millions of coin from the ETFs, etc., we are completely early in the adoption curve. And as you said, it's going to be inevitable to the upside, to the upright side of any price chart or any adoption chart. And I would also say that it's inevitable. It's not a choice. At this point in Bitcoin life, is not a choice. Is inevitable, and I think it's the greatest stability for young people like me and you and many others to have for our own future, knowing that Bitcoin will be there, knowing that that is the saving technology that we need, and that automatically, by understanding it, you will adjust a lot of your behavior, and you will feel maybe even better as a human being, because you have more stability at your core. And again, money is crucial, because most of the problem in families, in companies, in the state, you can say politician, you can say whatever, you can lose a lot of time in superficial argument, but the real fundamental problem in 95% plus of the cases is money. If you fix the money, you have better human interaction and better society as a whole.
Yeah, and I think, to frame and to print in everybody's let's say brain and mind the opportunity we are standing on, I want to show a chart.
Go ahead, please.
A slide that I made using this chart from Jesse Mayers, and now is leading the Bitcoin treasury acquisition, or helping with that at the Smarter Web company in UK. So two numbers. Only two numbers. Who cares about the Bitcoin volatility? Like, who really cares? Two numbers. Bitcoin market cap is now 4x than it was 2 years ago. It was accounting as a share of total of global asset value. So it was 0.04% of global asset value when we look at gold, collectibles like art cars and so on, equities, real estate, bonds, and broader money. And it has increased, and now it's 0.19%. And what are the two numbers? The two numbers is it's increasing at an incredible speed, in 4x in 2 years. And the other number is still very small.
It's nothing.
Incredibly small. And all these equities, this part on the right will show it, like all these equities, real estate, bonds, money, and so on, these are available capital. And there is close to infinite available capital that is flowing every day into scarce available Bitcoin. And so this is going to drive cycles, and we could argue about, it's going to happen a bear market, how deep or not. But the more people and the more capital understands the arbitrage, the more the bear market will disappear. And it will be just correlated to intermediary, to other dynamics, which could be market makers. And arbitrages are there, but they're not there forever. And so as capital smells the arbitrage is gonna disappear. But still, because of the features of Bitcoin, which is the only asset on Earth ever invented that can actually help you transfer energies in time without bleeding them out, because of the features, it will keep being the main asset to have to preserve value, and better than gold and better than anything else.
And these these two triangles. I think the first one was done by by Gen 3, by the team from of Samsung. These two pyramids that are incredible because it's an incredible visualization. And as you said, the available capital is almost technically infinite because it's what it is, 1 quadrillion, maybe more. And eventually every day a small fraction of it, a tiny fraction of it, whether it's from real estate, whether it's from equities, whether it's from bonds, at the margin, someone decides to say, no, this time I don't want to buy my second property, I don't want to buy this 50K in this stock, I don't want to buy land, whatever, because my purpose is not to save or to invest into, hold traditional instruments, now that we have a new, more perfected instrument in Bitcoin. So every day at margin, for millions and eventually billions of dollars, there will be a continuous flow out from those traditional instruments into Bitcoin. And people might say that is wrong. People might say that it won't be in the future. Each one of us needs to reason with their own head. Each one of us needs to go back to first principle. Each one of us needs to see the data and the trends. And again, until our thesis that Bitcoin is superior to gold, is superior in terms of properties, is superior in terms of all the main feature of money, all the main feature of why you invest and why you save are still met, Bitcoin will overperform it. And again, the available Bitcoin is shrinking every cycle, is shrinking every year. That's why the floor for Bitcoin is going higher every 4 years, 3 years, 5 years, depending on the time frame. But generally speaking, it's going up because the hodler understand it. They don't want to get rid of Bitcoin, and they spread to more people. And now we have, millions of people coming every month or every year. So probably this floor will keep going higher. So in my view, the eventual bear market, we will have one. For sure we will have one, but I think the drawdown will be a function of how higher and how unrealistically, how euphoric we have been before.
Yeah.
But if we are moving into this kind of very conscious way, very grinding up, consolidate, nothing particularly crazy, I think it's almost impossible to foresee as of today with this price action, with this on-chain data, a minus 75%, which makes no sense. It doesn't mean anything, nothing that for a statistical measure we had in the past minus 93, minus 87, minus 82, and now we need to have another minus 75. Because again, the landscape is different. There is a totally different macro environment for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And every Bitcoiner now very recent, like in the past months, more and more companies, right? The public companies are buying Bitcoin, and institutions. And I mean, there are many companies now. We are, I believe, at around 180 public companies worldwide, at least reported.
I think even more, from Bitcoin Treasury. Maybe I can share it. Let me see.
Absolutely. Share it.
Let me see. I mean, probably 80% of those companies are so tiny that are completely negligible. But I think, wait, not here. Can you see it?
1 second.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
So yes, we have a total of 319
institutions.
Yes. No, you're right. Public company 186.
Okay. Yeah, we have
very accurate.
Yeah, I heard it recently. So we have these public companies that a few months ago they were, I don't remember, but many less. I remember counting when they were at a few companies at 100, then they got to 150 in just a few weeks. They grew very fast, and now we're at 180. And the biggest buyers among these companies, there are companies that are basically using the Sailor playbook. And maybe we should dedicate an episode just to these another time. But there are companies that are not just buying Bitcoin; they are removing Bitcoin forever. They are basically pricing out me, you, Bill Gates, Trump, Putin, every government, every institution, every other company. They're pricing them out for good. And of course, maybe there is a lot of attention on the playbook and how to structure balance sheet, because of course they use leverage, they use debt to acquire Bitcoin. And some of these companies might face trouble, above all the smaller one, those that didn't build a solid balance sheet, those that are not really Bitcoin aware, I would say, because if you are Bitcoin aware and you know what is has done in the past, you can plan accordingly. Some will crash, some will sell maybe some Bitcoin, but the others, they just remove Bitcoin forever. And the amount of Bitcoin they buy is not comparable to what a millionaire or even 1 billionaire can do. They buy thousands of Bitcoins per week. Altogether, they buy, as I remember reading 3,000 Bitcoin 1 week, and like it varies, but they're removing 3,000 Bitcoin even per week. And people are not paying attention. And these companies, they bet everything on the arbitrage of the century, that is using fiat money to buy finite Bitcoin. And there are incredibly smart people who know very well the finance world, who are tech experts, who are financial engineers, finance experts, and they're all collectively sharing, sourcing, like how to best do it, because they know they're the first ones, and they know that just by being there, playing together, even if they're not everybody can afford to be the first company like Strategy is, but they are there together, and just by being there and doing it now, they are ahead of everybody else.
The total 100, the top 100 just reached 1 Nakamoto in size, so 1 million Bitcoin held by the top 100. And I think, it's a new industry, it's a new space, because as we all know, Strategy started in August 2020. I think they really realize about the real power of the balance sheet, the power of Bitcoin, and all the financial engineering that they could stretch forward, I would say, mid 2023. So again, it's a 2.5-year industry, and it's already 1 million in BTC. We have hundreds of companies. 1 year ago, probably we have 30, 20, something like this. So maybe in the future we will have more. And once again, as you said before, not all the companies needs to go the full playbook of Strategy to become a Bitcoin pure play, to financialize themselves, to even lever it up. Most of those other companies in the future, in my view, coming from the traditional finance world and graduated from accounting, economics, and finance, I think it's crucial for most of them with positive cash flow to start to allocate some of those cash flow, these stable revenues, into Bitcoin, to have a very healthy balance sheet, to keep giving more attention to the balance sheet, less attention to the P&L, give more attention to what's really matter. And again, we will see in the future many different playbooks, many different strategies. And I think the safest one is simply you have a good company. You don't want to, being bankrupt in 10 years. You want to be in a position of more financial strength, more optionality. Just convert part of your cash and part of your cash flow into Bitcoin. Then your company will be a bit better. You will have a better credit rating. You will have a more financial, appealing versus potential lending with a bank or with a partner or with another institution. So it's a plus. Maybe the next year you will have more cash flow. Keep adding it. And again, this one can literally be applied by hundreds of thousands of public corporation, but I don't know how many hundreds of million of private corporation, from the small companies to the big one. but we have still not tapped, not even the 0.01% in my view, on the corporate adoption.
Absolutely.
So as you said, is the arbitrage of the century from all the possible scenarios that we see it. And again, we are not even seeing nation state. So in my view, this decade will be the corporate adoption from any kind of shape or form, public, private, small, big, eventually another probably Mag 7, probably, also like legacy companies at some point in this decade has to force to add to their balance sheet Bitcoin. And then I think we still have another massive wave of adoption from nation states
Pension
that is
fund.
not even started.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
And
yeah, I
what's
think we
happening
have
in US
plenty of
is
buyers of last resort.
yeah,
Plenty
and
of buyers. Yeah.
yeah, and maybe one last thing. I guess we are going a bit longer, but
Yeah.
like people are not realizing Bitcoin is getting injected in the system in crazy ways. Like I remember I closed up some ETFs position I had open for a long time. There was some robotics ETF I had bought, and I recently looked it up. I was just curious. Okay, what are the companies that are there?
What's
And
inside?
one of the main companies was Strategy.
No way.
Yeah,
Strategy?
yeah, there was
For real?
Strategy. Yeah, one big allocations. I don't remember how much was it, but it was definitely at the top, the ones that you see when you look into it. It was Strategy. And yeah, because you know that ETFs namings are worth nothing, like right.
It's pure marketing, I would say.
Yeah, and it's crazy because I mean, also what's happening in US now that with the new reforms and so on, that people, I don't know if they are already allowed or they will be allowed to actually have cryptos on their 401k.
Yeah, for the pension schemes, yes.
Yeah, and like it's already the Nasdaq for many companies, not only Sailor, not only Strategy. I mean, Figma went IPO recently. It entered. Sorry, I forgot if it entered. I don't remember which index.
I think it was the QQQ.
Yeah, but they bought Bitcoin, and I don't know, Tesla is in there, Coinbase
Coinbase is in there.
is in there, like companies, not necessarily those pure
Block.
plays. Yeah, they are all in there, and their performance clearly are indexed to and impacted by Bitcoin, and it's getting there. And once people can have it when they're 401k, good luck to any politicians who wants to change that, because something that fiat systems work very well at is preventing change from happening. Once they implemented a rule because they thought it was good, and in this case it's good, it facilitates the adoption, there's not gonna be coming back.
Yeah, and back to your point of incentives, which again, it's like probably the easiest way to understand reality nowadays is to follow the money, follow the incentives, and you will see a different reality. When you see BlackRock shifting from, oh my God, no, Bitcoin is let me think, I don't care about it, is aligning with, the traditional finance, with the Charlie Munger, with the Warren Buffett, with the Jamie Dimon of the situation, and now becoming one of the best advocate of Bitcoin, and BlackRock being one of the biggest, if not the biggest financial player, and can technically make a lot of impact in any board decision from major companies.
Yeah.
And they make money out of the ETFs. They make money if everything goes up. The incentives are fully aligned. So for them, they will be the first one marketing for Bitcoin. They will be the first one going to boards, to the CEO, to the CFO, or even simply, putting out a report saying that all financial advisors should put not 2, maybe 5, maybe 10 in the future % of allocation in Bitcoin, because again, the incentives are aligned. And for the first time in history, probably this time is an ethical things at the base. The base layer is ethical. The base layer is fair. The base layer is governed by math and by energy, as you said. So I think we are witnessing an historical shift into the Wall Street, into financial market, and after all, also in the monetary theory and in money in general, because again, everything is intertwined with Bitcoin. That is a Trojan horse entering different aspect of reality. So it's a win for us.
Absolutely. Well said.
Yeah. So yeah, we are already 1 hour and 10 minutes talking, Enea. So I don't know, maybe it's time to close. Otherwise,
we can go on forever here.
Yeah, we can speak forever. I mean, me as well on this topic. I'm pretty logoroic, so I can talk for hours. So maybe it's better to maybe close now, because we close on very good topics. So I don't know. Maybe we can record something else in the next weeks or so, if the audience, or if we want just to have more insight, because I wanted to have more insight from you, from all the Bitcoin treasuries, but we didn't have time today.
Yeah, next time we can definitely talk again. We'll be happy to do so. Then thank you for having me, and
thank you, Enea. Thank you.
Until next time.
Yeah, and thank you for everyone to listen to us. So yeah, feel free to follow us on X. Enea, there is no need for more introduction. We already had it. And go also on the BTC Treasury community on X. Me, you can follow me on my handle is Battistoshi93, and also on the Escape Velocity podcast. So you can just find everything on my bio. So yeah, it was an amazing conversation, man. And yeah, I really hope we can have another one on maybe Bitcoin equities, on maybe strategy, on Metaplanet, on Blockchain Group, and others, very well-known experiment, but no longer experiment, but reality in the Bitcoin equity space. And maybe on the next episode then.
Sure. Thanks.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.